So how do we go about launching a Kali virtual machine in the cloud that we can access anywhere at any time, and it takes under 10 minutes to set up and it's completely free? I'm WJ Pearce for Cybergrid, and today we're going to be looking at exactly how we do that. As always with these things, it's best to follow along, so I think we should jump on the PC.
So first of all, we're going to need to sign up to the Amazon Web Services AWS login page. Now, if you don't have an account, this is where you would sign up. You just need an email address, your address, AWS account name, pretty standard stuff, except from you do need a credit or a debit card. Now, if you follow along with this video, this isn't going to charge you a penny, but AWS does require it for you to sign up. Once you're signed up, if you navigate to the home page, it's the page you will land on actually, so no navigation needed. You will be faced with this. Now, this is our recently visited services dashboard. This is where we can do everything from AWS. Now, I work with AWS almost every day, so there are a few security configurations that I would recommend. So if you click on your username, then security configurations, you can come in here and create an IAM user. An IAM user is basically a user that's spawned off your root account with less permissions. So I would recommend creating one of those. I might create a second video on how to do that, but it's pretty straightforward. You then want to assign MFA to your root account and to that IAM user. Log out and then log back in as the IAM user. For today, you can just use the root, but if you plan on using AWS a lot, I would recommend making an IAM user. So once that's all done, we need to go over to EC2. Now, EC2 is basically where our Linux boxes are. So we click Launch Instance, and then we search for Kali. And I didn't realize that 14 results came up. So I started searching Cal, and then I realized that 14 results came up. So you click on that, and we can see free tier available for the top one there, Kali Linux. So if we go ahead and select that, press continue. We want the free tier available. Now, this is basically T2 Micro or T3X Large. It's basically the difference between a Raspberry Pi and a gaming PC. It's how big your processor is going to be in the cloud, basically. At this point, we just want to double check that auto assign IP is use subnet settings enable. Add storage. 12 gigs should be enough. Feel free to add more if you think you're going to be doing lots of dictionary attacks. This is where we would add tags for cost management. And then we come to the security group page. Now, we do need to spend a bit of time on this. The first one is SSH. So we need to click My IP, and this allows us to SSH into that machine from My IP. Give it a wee description. We want to add a second one because we want to RDP into the machine because we want that nice GUI. Again, My IP. Give it a wee name. Review and launch. Now, this is where we need to create a key pair. A key pair is basically a signing certificate of a private key file with a public key file that lets us SSH onto the box. If you already have one, good, great, use that one. If you don't, create a new one, give it a name, leave RSA ticked. I'm going to call it Kali_test, and it's going to save it as Kali_test.pem because it's a PEM file. There we go, we can see it there. I'm going to move it to my desktop. Now we hit launch instance. There we go. We can see our machine is up and running. I gave it a name Kali. I'll change it to capital K. And this is where we're going to see all the information about it. If we highlight it, you can see details, security, networking, storage, health checks, monitoring, tags, all the things that we set up in the setup process. But we're interested in the public IP. So go ahead and copy that. So we can now close this Chrome window. You can see I've got all the commands that we're about to use in a note file. I'm not very good at multitasking, so typing and talking at the same time, so I'll pop those in the description so you've got those as well. We then need to open our get bash. I think of bash as a way to interact with Windows the same way you would with Linux. It's probably not correct, but that's the way I think about it. So change directory into our desktop, so cd desktop. We then want to change the permissions of that Kali test.pem file. And we can do that with a chmod command, so chmod 400, basically saying users in this directory are allowed to use that pem file. We then want this big long command here, so you'll see why I had copy and pasted it into this note file. If you don't want to write out that big long command, you can come back to your dashboard, hit actions connect, and it'll actually give you the command that you need to type into your terminal. The only thing you need to change is they've preset it as root. Now we're going to be wanting to log in as the Kali user, not the root user. So take that command, give it a copy, there we go. And we're in Kali. Now, of course, we've only SSH to Kali, not RDP'd yet. We're going to want to set a password, so sudo passwd Kali. Enter a secure password. Now, you're going to need to remember this password because when we RDP in, we're going to need to use this password. Obviously, I didn't type it right. I told you guys I'm not very good at multitasking. There we go. And that's the password made. Now, with any new Linux box, we're going to want to do a update, so sudo apt-get update, and you forget to put a space so it doesn't work, so you go back and you move apt. We give this a minute to load. And now our Linux box is completely up to date with all the latest packages. We can take this big long command, and this is our VNC, so this is how we're actually going to connect RDP style to it. Once that's loaded, it takes about 15 minutes. I cut the video here. We want to nano into the wrapper config and basically just say the allowed users that we want to allow to RDP in are the Kali users. So Kali-user. So you press Control X here, hit Y, and then press enter. If you've never used Nano before, it's a bit of a pain in the arse to get used to, but you can see there it's saved. We then want to start the service that we are going to be using to RDP in, so service xrdp start. Wait for the authentication. This is going to ask for the password that you set earlier. There we go, we are good to go. So come down to remote desktop, which is pre-installed on any Windows machine. Want to come back to the dashboard to grab that IP address. Hit yes. We want to leave this as xorg. We want to put the username as Kali, hence editing that wrapper file to say the Kali user is allowed. Put the password in that we set, and with any luck, there we go, a full-on Kali machine in the cloud that we can turn off and on whenever we want and connect to. So we now have a remote desktop connection to the Kali machine. And this is yours. Just because it's in the cloud doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be sharing it with other people. It's completely secure. Maybe not as secure as a VM on your local desktop if you've not configured it correctly, but it's as good as. So we can hit that bottom right hand corner, hit shut down. It's going to need the password again. There we go. You can see the service has stopped and we've been kicked back to my bash desktop. We can come here and we can click instance state and stop instance. Now, if you're not using it, you are going to want to do this just so it doesn't charge you for sitting idle. There we go. There are no more instances running, but we've got our Kali machine there, and whenever we want to connect it, we boot it up. Thanks very much.